JENNIFERCA.
Kristin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open for Opportunity, the IFA's roadshow. My name is Ben Lawrence. I'm the Aziz Hashim Professor of Franchising Entrepreneurship here at Georgia State University. I'll talk a little bit about Georgia State before we start, because some of you might not know about Georgia State. Georgia State was founded in 1913 and is ranked second most innovative university in the nation, and second in our commitment to teaching by U.S. News and World Report. Georgia State has eliminated all achievement gaps between rich and poor and between white and non-white students, so that's a great achievement of ours here at Georgia State. We enrolled our first African-American student in 1962, and now we graduate more African-American undergraduates than any other nonprofit university in the United States. We are an R1 research institution, and the Robinson College of Business is ranked 39th in the U.S. in research productivity in top business journals. We have many highly ranked programs, including our hospitality program, which was recently ranked 15th in the world. GSU is the 8th largest university in the country with 53,000 students, so many of you probably didn't know that. We're in Atlanta and as well as satellite campuses. Georgia State is an engine of social mobility and a perfect venue to talk about opportunities in franchising entrepreneurship. We're happy to partner with the IFA on their Open for Opportunity campaign. And Matt Haller was unfortunately not able to be here today. He had to be back in Washington. But we have Erica Farage here, Vice President of Political and Advocacy for the IFA. She's going to be talking and introducing the IFA to you today. Erica.
Thanks, Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. Erica Farage with the International Franchise Association, as Ben just said. First of all, I want to thank all of you for having us here today. The International Franchise Association represents what we kind of like to call the three legs of the franchise stool. So franchisees, the wonderful local owners of kind of any brand you can think of. Of course, the franchisors, which are the brand parent companies, if you will. And then we have about 600 supplier members as well. Anything you can think of, from PR to marketing firms that really support all of our franchise brands and local franchisees as well. I am excited to announce, actually, that those are our main membership categories right now, but we're actually starting a membership category for students as well. Thank you. So Georgia State is, one of the first colleges in the country to really have a franchise curriculum, a franchise course, and we're really looking to expand that. And so we want to be able to offer education to students as well. And so we are excited to announce the forthcoming membership for students at IFA. We are here, as Ben said. We started a new campaign really this fall, but have kicked off what we're calling this roadshow, if you will. Kicked off in Miami a few weeks ago, and now here in Atlanta, to really talk about franchising in a different way. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what franchising is and how sort of it operates between the franchisee, franchisor. We want to make sure that students like you, elected officials, the media, third parties, are really all engaged and aware of what franchising is and what franchising can bring to local communities. Atlanta really is, as Ben and I were talking about, the capital of franchising. There are so many brands based down here, and there's so much opportunity. Atlanta really is open for opportunity. We've been down here for about 2 days now and have met some really wonderful franchisees, franchisors. Just to give a few examples, we met Barbara Elliott from Decorating Den. So you might not think of a decorating franchise, but she left a career as a CPA and really went after what she was passionate about. She was passionate about interior design, and she took a leap. And she was also the fourth Black franchisee within the entire company at the time. So she was a real pioneer when it came to franchising in Atlanta. Another, some of you may be familiar with this if you're 21, is Cassidy Bass. She's a franchisee of Crew Hookah Lounge. So franchisees are really, see, I see some nods. You better be 21. But Crew Hookah Lounge, which is an Atlanta-based franchisor, really up and coming and growing within the community. We also met a gentleman named Shuvik Gangley. He left a big corporate job at a beverage manufacturer based here and started a Sport Clips. So again, you might not think of salons as being franchised, but what we're here to talk about is how the breadth and the depth of franchising. Open for Opportunity is really all about telling these stories of local franchise owners. We have 4 pillars. You'll see them sort of behind me. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, the workforce, community, and veterans. Really talking about franchising using those pillars. Open for Opportunity, we're really just telling the story of what all of these guys, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, are doing in local communities. So I want to thank all of you guys for being here today. Super important to learn about the different opportunities excuse me, in franchising, whether it's on the corporate side, how third parties can help you. We've got a franchisee, a franchisor. There are really a lot of opportunities. So franchising is truly open for opportunity. And I just want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you to Ben, too. And I will turn it back over to him.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I tell my students that franchising is Atlanta is the capital of franchising. We are the epicenter. More of the top 200 franchise brands have their headquarters in Atlanta than anywhere else, any other city. You could call us the chicken capital of the U.S. We have Chick-fil-A. We have Zaxby's. We have Church's Texas Chicken. We have Chicken Salad Chick. They all call Georgia home. I kind of joke with my students because we usually have 2 or 3 chicken brands come into the class. But being the epicenter of franchising allows us to really connect with industry, which is really important for students. It's really important for our students to meet people, to engage with industry, to understand how the theory applies in the context of business, because all our students are going to go out one day and get a job. And so that's one of my jobs, is to connect them with industry, and Atlanta is a great place for that. So we have an amazing panel today, and I'm going to introduce them very briefly, and then I'm going to have them each introduce themselves for about 30 to 60 seconds, and then we're going to have some questions. And hopefully during the panel, we're going to have an engaging discussion. So students, don't worry about your questions. Bring them, raise your hand. Please ask the questions as we go through the panel. This is really as much for you as it is for the panelists, right? It's for you to engage and understand franchising. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. So first we have Jennifer Callender. Jennifer, you want to raise your hand there? There we go. Founder and principal of franchise consultant Genevieve Solutions. Ms. Callender is a retired corporate executive with 25-plus years, mainly in the telecommunications and healthcare industry. She started JSL to assist African-American and Latino individuals by helping them explore franchise business ownership in a trusted environment. JSL is affiliated with FranServe, which is one of the largest brokerage firms in the U.S. with over 500 franchise brands across 60-plus industries. Kristin Goedke is head of strategic market planning for Papa John's. Ms. Goedke leads strategic market planning at Papa John's. She joined the organization in 2021. Upon joining the organization, she was tasked with developing new tools and methodologies to support development activity worldwide. Her background is with Walgreens and with Aspen Dental, and leadership in ICSC, International Council of Shopping Centers. Make her a trusted leader in the real estate strategy space. We also thank her for our pizza today. She said that pizza came from Shaq's Pizza, Shaq's franchise. So thank you very much for that. It's very much appreciated. Third, we have Daniel Halpern, Executive Officer and co-founder of Jackmont Hospitality. Jackmont Hospitality is an award-winning, minority-owned food service management company and one of the fastest-growing TGI Fridays franchisees. They own and operate throughout the country on behalf of Atlanta restaurant partners. In addition to many industry boards, Mr. Halpern is very politically active. In 2008 and 2012, he served as a member of President Barack Obama's National Finance Committee and as a trustee for the 2008 Presidential Inaugural Committee. Last, we have Tim Williams, Chief Franchising Officer of Williams Fried Chicken. After beginning his career as a sales associate at Quine & Associates for 14 years, Mr. Williams moved to become Williams become Williams Fried Chicken Inc.'s Director of Franchising, where he assisted in the development of 50 new Williams Chicken units over 5 years. He now serves as the owner of TMW Food Service Inc. and a franchisee of 2 units of Williams Fried Chicken. So thank you so much, panelists, for being here with us today. If each of you would like to just talk 30 to 60 seconds, a little bit about yourself and about franchising, that'd be great. Let's start with Kristin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristin Goedke. I lead strategic market planning at Papa John's. Franchising in the last 18 months has been new to me. Prior to that, my background has been in more corporate, organized companies. So I've learned a lot working with our franchise partners, being a franchisor, and helping guide opportunities for development, and working closely with people that want to build a new Papa John's. Where does that make sense to grow, and how do we put more restaurants in the right places, but do it in a partnership type model?
Great. Jennifer.
Hello, everyone. Jennifer Callender, and I am a certified franchise consultant. Fancy name simply means that I work with those who are interested in franchise business ownership and the brands. So I present and recommend franchise businesses to individuals based on their interests, based on their comfortable investment level, based on their skill set. So I get an intimate look at the candidates and I present them to people like Papa John's, Williams Chicken. And I am a corporate early retiree from corporate. 2019, I stepped out of Kaiser Permanente, and I landed in this spot because I was looking for a franchise. I was working with a broker, actually. And that experience wasn't the best experience for me. I don't know for what reason, but I felt like I wasn't being taken seriously about my journey. So I said, let me flip this and let me start to work in this space, because if I'm having this issue, other people that look like me probably have the same issue. So I wanted to be in this space to help individuals specifically that look like me get into franchise business ownership. And I'm happy to be here. Happy to see your smiling faces.
Great. Thanks so much. Tim?
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Williams, and I'm Director of Operation and Franchise Development for Williams Chicken, and I'm also the Chief Financial Officer. I tell a lot of people I end up in the franchise business by accident. My background is financial real estate, and I met the founder, Hawaii William, African-American male, cold calling, trying to do more deals, real estate deals. And I started help him do his books so I could be able to do more deals, because you have to have a good financial statements to do real estate deals. So use my skills from my finance, in my real estate background, my finance background, assistant. He hired me as a consultant, then he hired me as a director of real estate. Then I have grown from there. This April the 19th, we'll be in business for 35 years, and I've been part of Williams Chicken 33 of the 35 years it's been around. So, and how we got into the franchise side of it is that it's by accident. Some people that he left from a previous company wanted to join him, and we started doing operating agreements. And one free time I was alerted in my law class to understand we're stepping on the toes of franchise law. And so we got with our attorneys, and we actually did the things we need to do to become a franchisor. We're probably one of the largest African American franchisors in the country. We have 56 stores in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. We have another 3 that we build in Chicago, and hopefully we'll be in Atlanta soon. So I am talking to people about it, so hopefully I can see some of you lovely faces again. There's opportunity out here, and one of the deals that I'm fortunate enough that the president will let me do, since I am a member of the board, is that let me go on the road and talk about franchising, because it's an opportunity that's not shared in most colleges. And probably most people you talk to, they'll tell you they got in this industry by accident.
Great. We're looking forward to seeing Williams Fried Chicken in Atlanta, so we can add to our chicken portfolio. Daniel?
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Halper, and I am a lifelong restaurant person. I started washing dishes at 14, and I was fortunate. I always worked for entrepreneurs. I never planned it, but everybody I ever worked for, with the exception of one job, was with entrepreneurs. I came to Atlanta 87, excuse me, recruited by former Mayor Maynard Jackson, who was then coming back to be mayor, and a gentleman by the name of Nathaniel R. Goldston III, who owned a company called Gourmet Services. At the time, Gourmet Services was the largest black-owned food service company in the country, and the primary business was we provided food service on historically black colleges and universities. I did that for 7, 8 years, met a bunch of people, and like every other entrepreneur, I looked at the person I was working for and said, I can do this. That's where franchising comes in. As you're starting an organization in the franchise world, there's a lot of things that they do for you that really you don't have the infrastructure to do. And in the restaurant space, that's menus, it's branding, it's marketing, it's product innovation, and it really allows you to focus on two things, your people and your customers, and just driving your standards. So we've been very successful. We own about 30 TGI Fridays up and down the East Coast. We have some of our own brands. We are our calling card is we're the only restaurateur in an airport in the country that's ever been nominated for a James Beard Award. We were nominated twice, which we took as a huge compliment. And so we've developed our own concepts. We also have a restaurant, another chicken concept called Chicken and Beer. It's a joint venture I did with the entertainer Ludacris. You guys are too young, but that was one of his album titles. Right. And it's a very successful restaurant. We have one here in Atlanta. We're about to build one in Los Angeles. So, but I would say, once again, from the franchising side, and it's probably a little bit of a company message, I serve on the board of the International Franchise Association. But as Erica said, there's a lot of dynamic people that come together and teach you how to run a business. Starting a restaurant is extraordinarily complex. If you're in a franchise system, Williams, Papa John's, they provide a lot of support, which allows you, once again, to focus on day-to-day operations, your team, and your customers. So,
great. Well, we're going to start with the questions, but if students have questions throughout it, raise your hand. We want to have this be interactive as possible. So we're going to start with Kristin. We're going to talk a little bit about the last 2 years have been pretty tough on everyone, and particularly hard for students and young people entering the workforce. What are some of the ways that you saw your own local franchisees supporting students throughout the pandemic, whether through charitable endeavors or workforce development? How is Papa John's engaging students?
Yeah, so we have a great program called the Papa Dough to help students work for Papa John's and also reap some benefits for some college reimbursement. We've also spent a lot of time training, right? Everyone's facing the challenges of bringing in team members and keeping people employed that want to work for us. And so we spend a lot of time training and developing and really with the franchisees trying to spend the last 2 years of making it easier for franchisees to operate versus having to worry about some of the things that we were talking about of the real estate site selection or building a new building, right, and dealing with construction costs and equipment delays and all of those things, but allowing them the opportunity to spend time focused on the customer, the team member, and the product that we're putting out, right? If we're not putting out good product, it's hard to retain those customers and hard for team members to stay engaged. So we're really focused on making sure we're hiring people, staffing appropriately, but also giving back those benefits to make it an engaging environment.
Great. Does anybody else on the panel want to address that question? Tim?
I do the same thing with Williams Chicken. I go to the local colleges and some of the junior colleges in the DFW area and try to recruit individuals to come work part-time. Once especially in the community, we get a chance to give back to the community, to be a good corporate citizen. Also, we get opportunity to get the fresh out of that student that might be coming out of a junior college with an associate degree or with a bachelor degree. And we introduce them to the industry and give them opportunity to see if there's someone who want to go. And currently, I just hired an individual from one of the small historic black colleges in Tyler. This young man is going to start Monday with us. We start him out way higher than minimum wage because we recruit him to become a part of Williams Chicken. Whether it's on the corporate side, when I say about corporate side, do they come in the corporate office, be part of our marketing program, or be part of our franchise or our finance, or do you want to get back into operation? What does that mean? Do you want to become a store manager, maybe one day become a region manager, maybe one day become a franchise partner? So we try to give them 2 or 3 options in the franchise industry because, like I said, I'm a firm believer that most people in this industry, we end up by accident. I didn't have opportunity to sit in a franchise class in my college days. Like I said, I was just having to be awake long enough in real estate law to understand that what it takes to have a franchise, and that probably gave me the boost in that had launched my career because I knew and I got with the attorneys, and one of the attorneys that I deal with, he said, I have no idea what you're talking about. So he went and found a real estate attorney, a franchise attorney. And yes, we was violating the laws. So there's things that you need to know to really be in this industry, and it's a good place to start in a class like this. You'll be way ahead of a lot of your competitors, especially when it comes down to applications. So when you start putting your resume together. For an employee like me, look at a resume and said you took franchising, along with your finance, or along with your marketing, everything. It's a big boost for you to be moved to the top of the list of the candidate to be hired.
Great. Daniel, you want to talk a little bit about why you believe the franchise industry is a good place for young people to start their career, and kind of what the potential is in franchising for an individual graduating from college?
Yeah, just and to piggyback maybe off the last question, right? In the restaurant space, you don't see too many people that are in the restaurant industry that didn't work on it when they were in college, right? We all waited tables and bussed and cooked and did all those things, worked at clubs, whatever it was we did, we were in the industry. I'm a little older than everybody in this room. When I came out of school, it was much easier to open a restaurant. It was significantly cheaper. There were a lot less hoops to jump through, regulations that were on the books that you had to follow. Today, I think the franchising space affords a great opportunity. For anybody who truly wants to get an operating business, whether it's something what I do on the franchising side, at Williams Fried Chicken, or being a franchisee at Papa John's, people are always looking for entrepreneurs and operators. There's a significant amount of capital that's sitting out here. You guys read and see the news, and everybody talks about how much money's in this country today, right? Well, everybody who's sitting on that money is looking for somebody to put that money to work, whether it's open restaurants, buy a block of restaurants, or whatever other aspects of the franchising industry that you're in. But once again, as I alluded to, on the franchising side, you have real estate services, you have marketing services, you have, in the restaurant side, you have product development, innovation, all those things that as somebody who's starting a business, you really don't have the expertise in-house to do this. So over time, you build that, and you're building an expense center. One of the things about the franchising game is you pay them 4 or 5%, your overhead's not as high. So they're trades, but I think for anybody who in this room who really wants to be an entrepreneur, the best way to start, really, unless you have some elaborate idea, which I never possessed, is to get in the franchising game. There's people all over the world that own companies that do a myriad of things. Somebody owns California Closets that we sit on the National Franchise Association board. I understand Williams Fried Chicken, I understand TGI Fridays, I understand Papa John's. I'm getting exposed and learning about different industries that have different franchising opportunities. So I think to Professor Lawrence's point, though, it is a great entry point. And the thing to do, right, is as you're looking at potentially franchising being a career opportunity or a career start working in that industry that you want to be in. Start working for that brand. We're all looking for employees. We're all looking for leaders. And we're all looking for people that can run our companies down the road. So there's a unique opportunity now, probably unlike any other time, as long as I've been in working. Great.
Let's just switch gears a little bit. Georgia State is one of the most diverse universities in the United States. As you can look throughout the room, you can see that. And so, Jennifer, since you talked a little bit about diversity and about your journey, can you talk a little bit about how franchising could be a more attractive opportunity for a diverse community, be it a first-generation college graduate, a veteran, ethnic minority, compared to solo business ownership? So,
yeah, so that's a great question. So to piggyback a little bit off of what has been shared already, when you look at franchise, the industry, being a recent early retiree from corporate, I felt like I had reached a level as an executive director where I couldn't see how I could progress or advance from there. So when you think about that, and you think about as you look at your trajectory from where you're sitting, one thing that had to happen for me to be promoted in corporate, somebody had to move on or die, God forbid, or something like that. So I was sitting there and I was thinking, well, you know, that can't be the path. When you look at franchise business ownership or working in the industry, there's so much opportunity there, so much room to navigate and move around. You know, Dan just shared all the, you know, professions that support the franchise industry. I'm a first-time college graduate in my family, so I am that person you're asking that question. I am that example of first-time graduate from an HBCU, landed in, my background was software engineering and mathematics, landed my first job in corporate America in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you can imagine leaving Alabama for Minneapolis, I was a fish out of water. But that set the foundation for me. And I will say to you that the college experience, I worked for Burger King, and I could distinctly remember my job was to break down the shake machine, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But I didn't have the wherewithal to immerse myself into that environment and take advantage of that opportunity the way I should have. So my exposure wasn't there. So what I will say to you is that lack of exposure does not equate to inability. Because just because you haven't been exposed to a certain element or industry, that does not mean that you're not capable of excelling, thriving, and making that a profitable strategy for you. Franchise industry offers that for the minority community. It's a template to step into with all of the support available. And so we need to kind of step back and dismantle all of those narratives around franchise business ownership as being this or that. I work with a broker that stems across brands that reach far and wide across 60 plus industries, which are franchises. So that's the vast opportunity here.
Great. Kristin, do you want to talk a little bit about Papa John's and some of their diversity initiatives? How are you kind of increasing diversity at Papa John's, be it among the franchisees, among the corporation? Papa John's recently moved to Atlanta, as you might know, joined the Atlanta franchising ecosystem. So, how what are you guys doing at Papa John's?
So, you know, Papa John's is we just learned, moved to Atlanta. We're at the Battery, so just on the northwest side. Welcomed us to the franchise capital of the U.S., I guess. And so, you know, we're spending a lot of time with, you know, as our corporate team builds out. So I think a lot of people forget in franchising that there is a whole corporate support system. We have about 200 people, and as we start to look at building it out, looking for people from all sorts of backgrounds, right? It doesn't, just because I think everyone said it, you know you're an expert in something doesn't mean that you can't contribute in a different area as well. And then also we're really working closely with our franchise partners to help them grow and develop. You know, Shaq is a franchisee. We also have, you know, various franchisees from different backgrounds. I think I was sharing with the panel earlier that one of our largest franchisees actually started as a delivery driver many years ago now, but he owns around 200 Papa John's units in the U.S., and he moved to the United States from Pakistan. So clearly, you know, didn't necessarily follow the same path, but had that dream of ownership, building his business, you know, sits on our franchise advisory council, and is really a trusted partner with the brand, and he owns other brands other than Papa John's. So I think that's what, you know, people have to remember is that you don't just have to pick one. You can own multiple, you can diversify, and you can really do anything you set your mind to. I think, I've always believed that. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what kind of background you have. If you're the first person in your family to graduate college, but you can do anything you set your mind to, and only you can believe in yourself. And then, getting good mentors and partners out there that are willing to help coach you and develop you from any level, right? If you choose to go directly into franchising, work for a franchisee, or work from a franchisor, you're always going to want a mentor and a partner to help.
Great. Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about the unique challenges that communities of color or minority-owned business face in today's business, the opportunities and the challenges that you face in your own business or you see others face?
Yeah, I've been in obviously the restaurant business for a long time. Founded my company in 1994. Myself, Maynard Jackson, his daughter Brooke Jackson Edmond started the company. And we had a little bit of a head start. You have a partner by the name of Maynard Jackson, it opens doors, so certainly wouldn't want to take that for granted. But the biggest obstacles are brands trusting in you. And quite honestly, in the early mid-90s, there weren't too many brands that had a lot of diverse franchisees in their systems. So the first thing was trying to convince people that actually you could perform and you could do the job. As we kind of fast forward today, there's been a lot of kind of social dynamics that have really driven diversity in the franchising game, and all for the positive. A lot more operators, a lot more opportunity. Most of you in this room would know, but some of us on this panel would remember, in the mid-90s, there were not a lot of options in certain communities to go buy food. There just weren't any restaurants. So one of the things that we identified early was we were going to build TGI Fridays restaurants in middle-class, working-class African-American communities around the country. So Atlanta being one, the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. market being another one, where there were just huge opportunities. So our point was, we're going to take great business opportunities back to a franchisor and help them. And if you fast forward 20 years within the TGI Fridays system, we have the most successful portfolio of restaurants. Our average unit volumes are, 20-25% higher than anybody else's. And, we went into very distinct markets that we identified kind of, much before almost anybody else did. There were some big studies. Professor Lawrence, you might remember Michael Porter and the crew at Harvard doing all of these things about urban areas and opportunities to build in urban areas. And we kind of started it early. We certainly weren't the only ones, and we weren't the first ones, but we found success, and it worked well for us. And then I think, what we did and what a lot of other companies did, it created more openings for capital. Banks were kind of restricting and becoming less restrictive, loaning money in areas that previously they hadn't lent and things of that sort. So I think it's a constant push. I was on Georgia State's campus Saturday morning, right next door at the law school, speaking on a panel about Maynard, and they had assembled a group regarding Congressman John Lewis, Maynard, Reverend C.T. Vivian, who was and Julian Bond, and those individuals. And one of the things that comes out, that's unique, that comes out of Atlanta, that really should, for a lot of you in this class, drive you, is the opportunity and having the tenacity to go create your own opportunity. I think you're in a really unique place today. Once again, capital, brands, franchise partners, wanting new areas of development. You look across this room, you guys can provide that for them. So I think you need to take your unique position and really drive that. Franchising is a great way to do that, but you never know who you're going to meet. So I'll give you a funny story. I'm walking out of the parking lot, coming over here, and there's a young man walking in front of me. I assume he's a Georgia State student, and he spits on the ground. And he turns around and he looks at me. He says, "Oh, you didn't see that?" I said, "No, I didn't see it." But you never know who you're going to meet. So when I'm in my restaurants and I got young people working the restaurants, I always tell them, you never know who's going to come through the door. You have no idea who's going to come through the door of your restaurant who could transform your life in a significant way forever. So I would just tell you, you're here, you're at Georgia State, you're in a great institution, you're in a great city. Get out there, move about, and meet people, because you never know who you're going to meet. And once again, as I would be the first one to say, and franchising is a unique way to get your entrepreneurial spirit started. But you just never know. I wouldn't hire the guy that spit in the parking lot, right? So lesson learned there.
Great. Tim, do you want to talk a little bit about how you engage college graduates and for them to come work at your company, and kind of what are the misconceptions they have about your company? Any challenges you face as a company?
I would go back and even start with high school and college. You know, a lot of people look at those individuals working in fast food, and I talk about the restaurant industry because that's the industry I'm in. They look at you, you be working at Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell's, you name it. They're getting a foothold in an opportunity because they never know where it's going to take them. They can, and I'll give you an example later on. It can take you from being a part-time student to a vice president or director of operations, because that, as a franchisor and a franchisee, that's what we look for. We look for somebody, and then you understand the industry. In anything in life, it's not easy. There will be some challenges. In the fast food industry, we work long hours, but in return, we get paid very well. You know, you might see that guy or that young lady work for McDonald's, but if you go talk to that manager, that assistant manager, and then you ask them what they're paying or what they're making, you'd be surprised they're going to make just as much money if someone with a college degree that's working in some accounting department or marketing department, or where they wear a suit and tie to work every day. If you want to come work for me and work for Williams Chicken, you want to wear a suit and tie, I'll let you wear a suit and tie. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for that person that's going to bring that character. I was telling earlier, I use for example when I get a chance to. I had a Hispanic guy came to work for us. Barely could speak English. He started cleaning the floors, filtering the fryers, cleaning the fryers, cleaning the restaurant. Fast forward 15 years, he's now speaking English, and he's the manager of my #1 restaurant. His store ran a little bit about $2.7 million last year, and we pay him a little bit over $134,000 flipping chicken. So the opportunity is out there. On the corporate side, I have hired 3 people in my corporate office on work on the bookkeeping side. I have referred 2 young men with one of my attorney, which had to be an African American franchise attorney. Referred some people to him that had worked for William Law School and received law degrees. And they came back and he's got them jobs with some of the largest law firms in the country. And so what surprised me, they started their first year attorney $160,000 practicing franchise. And they got their idea about franchise by working for us. They went off to college and one of them ended up with gets a law degree and passing the bar. So there's opportunities out there. So even on the marketing side, you know, we need marketing people, but operation is probably the biggest market. If you understand operation, your opportunities out there are endless. Everybody's looking for someone in operation because nobody wants to come to operation, don't feel like it's a good fit, but they never see what great opportunity there is in operation. So don't be afraid to say, I'm assistant manager, I'm a manager at some fast food. Because I guarantee you're making just as much money or more than that person that's going to corporate America every day. So, and you probably move up the ladder faster because we'll open restaurants every day, and we need bodies to fill. Because without bodies and people to work, we don't open. It ain't like you build a restaurant and open it will come. It don't work like that. we need to already have you trained and ready to go, and we open restaurant and give you that opportunity. And I'll put this last piece, and I'll be finished. What we're doing at Williams, how we're growing our company is that we're taking our long-term managers, and we're making them franchise partners, and we're building more restaurants. So there's an opportunity, and you probably talk to anybody here, and probably talk to this gentleman, this lady. They're doing the same thing. They're promoting within. So there's always opportunity in the food industry, in franchise. I talk about food industry, I know. The rest of it I don't talk about because I don't know it.
That's a great point.
I would just argue or support what he just said on the operations side. When I started off in the industry, in 10 years I lived in 10 different cities. I had a house in Atlanta, but I was in Tallahassee, Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida, Little Rock, Arkansas, New Orleans, Louisiana, New York City, running different operations, opening different operations. So not only did I kind of learn the food service business and that aspect of just kind of the day-to-day operations, and he's 100% right. If you can operate, you can operate, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. But really, you develop leadership skills. You kind of develop the gravitas that you need. So when you walk into a room and you go meet with the folks at Papa John's and you want to open 4 stores and you got some capital behind you, they're going to believe you because you have a demonstrated track record. So for anybody in my specific industry, the food service industry, you don't want to go work in the corporate office. You want to be out there closing restaurants at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning, because that's where the action is. That's where the money's made. You know, there's a time and place to be in the corporate office, and now, unfortunately, I'm stuck in the corporate office, and I hate it. I'd much rather be out in the restaurants. So every time I get a chance, I go to the restaurants and play because it's a lot more fun. And those are the people that are generating revenue. There's nobody in my corporate office that makes a nickel. They spend a lot of money, but they haven't generated a nickel as long as I've been in business. So, what this man is saying is true. I just had to echo that, because if it's my business you want to be in, you better go work in some restaurants.
I would love to interject here. I think what Tim said is really important, right? We talk a lot, particularly even with the International Franchise Association, about these sort of like employee to owner stories. And not everyone who starts as an employee is going to become a franchise owner, right? But as Tim just said, you do have, it goes to sort of the workforce pillar of open for opportunity. There really is the ability to, start as a dishwasher, like you said, and move up just within the franchise location. Franchise managers make a really great living. So not everyone's gonna own the franchise, but there are opportunities within the workforce within franchise locations that are wonderful opportunities as well for employment as you're looking to move on in your career too. Being a franchise owner isn't necessarily for everyone, but there are so many different opportunities, whether it's in the store or someone like Kristin that works at corporate and works for the brand itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that operations is really key, right? I mean, even as a professor, when I first took my first job at Cornell, I sat up there and I taught food and beverage, and then this Cornell student stands up and says, "You ever run a restaurant, Professor Lawrence?" Like, "Who the hell are you?" I said, "Yeah, I actually run a restaurant and a bar and a banquet facility, and now I'm a professor, so I don't have to do that anymore," right? But it gives you credibility, and it makes you feel confident in what you do. And so even if you're a franchise owner of a multi-unit operation, if you can get in there and work the business, you have a lot more credibility. So the operations component is really important. I think what Tim said is really important, the idea that franchisors are figuring out ways to transfer really good employees to become franchisees. Because franchisors do not want to lose good employees, right? So as we see franchising evolve, you will see franchise companies coming up with innovative ways to transfer good employees into owners of those businesses, right? Because that's what they, for all of you, for all of the students out there, when you think about franchising, you think it's daunting, right? Papa John's, what's it cost to build? It's a lot of money. So how do I as a student get a piece of that? And I think that's one thing we struggle a little bit in franchising today, as being an operator, an owner, has become more and more expensive. So perhaps maybe the panel can talk a little bit about that. Perhaps, Jennifer, you want to talk a little bit about when you meet a prospective franchisee and you're trying to match them, obviously it's about trying to figure out the right fit for that franchisee, not only their investment, but kind of the lifestyle they want, what their skill set is. And that's obviously complicated also with diversity issues and right. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, clients present to me in many different forms or stages in their life. They could be interested in retiring from corporate and wondering what it takes to get into franchise business ownership. They could be already retired and just looking for a way to do something or diversify their portfolio. So I engage that way, just based on where you are in that journey. When you layer on that, you know, complications or issues or challenges around diversity, it becomes a little bit of a different conversation, right? Because a lot of the clients that present from underrepresented markets, you know, you're talking about access to capital. You're trying to remove those barriers to entry more so than recommend a franchise. So that engagement starts at a point farther from recommendation versus how can I remove a barrier of access to capital, understanding that this person needs to be have support in leadership, credit repair, anything of those nature. Those situations come up to play with individuals, and having a soft spot for those folks to land, right? So you don't want to just say, well, you're not ready, so come and call me back in a year, and here are the things you need to become ready. The conversation changes to, well, you're not ready, but you can be ready. And here are the things you need to do. And here are the partners that need to align with you to support you to become ready.
Great. Kristin, can we talk a little bit
I think
about...
we have a question from
go
the
ahead.
audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to add to that. So what type of things do you say, like a person not ready to be a franchise yet? What clauses do you see, like, oh, yeah, you fix this before you move forward with it?
So the question is, what kind of things do you have to do in order to fix before you become a franchisee? So any issues around kind of their personal profile that would help them move forward?
So fix, I wouldn't say fix, so to make you a stronger candidate for a franchise opportunity. Please, students, protect your credit score. Please, whatever you do, protect your credit score. So to take advantage of any type of lending, SBA, Small Business Administration lending, you have to have a 680 or higher credit score for most brands. Net worth, you know, what do you own? A house? Do you have investments? What does that look like to bolster your profile, your financial profile? Experience, have you worked in the industry before? Have you made any major purchases in the last year or so? So you want to make sure that you're protecting your financial profile to make sure that you can present yourself and take advantage of those funding opportunities to support getting into business opportunities. I think that's the major aspect of being ready for franchise business ownership, is that financial aspect.
Yeah, and the students heard that when Chick-fil-A came to the class. You heard that Chick-fil-A obviously is also looking at that. It's a little bit different model in terms of franchising, but they look at your ability to manage your finances as one indication of your ability to manage a crew and manage a business. And so I'd say for all students, it's a great recommendation to think about now, right? It's a lot easier to keep a good credit score than just to repair a bad credit. So so really think about that as you're thinking about your future and applying for business. Daniel had a comment?
Just to follow up on that, I have an 18-year-old son going away to college next year. Stay off social media. People do actually go look and see what you've done. So, a friend of mine sent me, I don't know if it was a TikTok or something, about 2 weeks ago, and it was a young lady who applied for a job with one of our TGI Fridays in the airport, and she went to get fingerprinted because anybody who works in the airport has to be fingerprinted, and she had a warrant for her arrest. So she gets a call back from TGI Fridays, supposedly, to come back and come in for an interview. Well, it wasn't that. It was the feds, right? And they arrested her, and she posted this on TikTok, and I'm like, I wouldn't post that, but just be really mindful and careful about what you put out there, because people are now going there, and the first test they're doing on you guys is just a social media scrub, and you got to be really careful because, you know, I come from the era where, the less you say, the better. Don't put it all out there on social media. And the only other thing I would say, if anybody truly is interested in becoming a franchisee on the operating side and the restaurant side, if you go work at a restaurant chain, you come out of school 21, 22, and you're there and you're 28, 29, 30, you really know how to operate in the business. And there's going to be a lot of people out there that are older, my age, that are looking for an opportunity to invest in a franchise business. And guess what they have? They have money, but they have no knowledge how to operate. You want to meet those people and build your own relationship. You still want to have your 680 or better credit score because it demonstrates maturity. You don't want to be, doing shots, on TikTok. That might be a distraction to some folks. But really, your job is to go out there and sell yourself as an operator and go find capital that wants to invest in a brand and saying, hey, I'm your partner, I'm your person. Then you end up a few years later and you own the majority of the business.
That's very true. Even, everyone I've spoken to, you have to have an operator. I wouldn't know how to operate a Papa John's for more than about an hour and a half from my days of pizza school training, right? But every franchisee, has someone that actually has boots on the ground operating, and there's tons of opportunities for that. And you have to have experience to do that. You can't just be like, oh, today I'm going to become an operating partner for Papa John's. Like, with no prior restaurant experience, not going to end well for anybody. And so, I'll tell you, everyone, the same thing. Like, I started out in operations for Sears, a little-known department store that's now basically out of business, which you probably are too young to know about. And I got the best advice there that I've ever received, which is stay as close to the cash as possible. So when you go into any kind of role, whether it's in corporate, franchise, a restaurant, a store, anything, being as close to helping generate cash and cash flow and understanding how the business model works will maintain that you're relevant forever. So, my team supports driving development and growth with our franchisees, which is ultimately driving that flywheel of royalty payments and how businesses make money. And if franchisees are happy and they're making money, they're going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to invest and build. And that cycle just keeps going. I think there's a question.
Is it more beneficial to have a diverse but low capital financial portfolio, or is it better to have more capital and a less diversified financial portfolio?
So it depends on how your portfolio, I would say how your portfolio is diversified. But I always stray on the side of less is more when you're looking at getting funding.
So Karen's family has a couple of restaurants, and she took the franchising course, I assume, to kind of see how she could expand either existing or expand the portfolio to her business, and so.
So you're strong already, I think. And so when I always tell, when I bring my clients to funding agents, I let them know this is not the typical kind of, you're looking at the standard things, checking the box and saying yes or no. We have to figure out how to make this work. Let's be creative and figure out how to make this work. So you're diversified, you have experience, so that has to count for something. And so this conversation tends to be, for me, let's take it on an individual basis. So you have the criteria, but you also have the individual to assess as well.
I think Karen represents a lot of our students that their families might have a business, a small family business, and when I talked about the students is how do you create generational wealth and pass that on, and specifically for students, first generation college graduates or students from different backgrounds, they might not have the social capital, the network in order to do that. And I think one thing that franchising can do is help to build that network and support them in their endeavors, because I think that everything I've seen in the franchising community is being very supportive of minority ownership or first generation college graduates or veterans in the workforce, and all franchisors are looking for that, right? Karen knows how to run a restaurant, right? So that's a really great skill to have in today's marketplace. As Daniel said, there's lots of people with money today. Money's pretty cheap, but there's not many people that can earn money and generate money in the operational capacity. So for all the students out there interested in, we often think when we graduate college, we're not going to work in an operational type activity. But that's what generates revenue, right? So me, for the college, I'm a faculty member. I generate revenue for the college, right? Because I'm an operator. I run the class. And that's what you are going to be doing if you're a restaurant owner or an owner of a franchise-based business. So don't lose sight of that. That's a really valuable skill to have, operating and understanding how a business operates. And as anybody here on the panel will say, there are a lot of people that want to partner with you. A lot of people say, I want to own a franchise, and I need to find an owner-operator that's going to work on that. And maybe there's a way for you to get equity in that business going forward. So there's some creative ways. Do you have questions from the audience? I know. Hold on, let me bring over the mic is for the live stream, I think. I don't know if the mic's going to go all the way there.
It's fine. I think I'm loud enough.
Here you go.
So either Tim or Kristin, I wanted to ask, when it comes to a young worker within your business, do you guys have a specific development program to help them move up and potentially become a franchise owner? Because, of course, they won't have as much wealth, I'll say, at the time of either starting in high school or just graduating college. How do you help inspire those young employees that you have?
Absolutely. We do it several ways. Most recent what we've done, in fact, this month, during Ladies Month, we had 2 young ladies that went from store managers to franchise owners. One of them started working for Williams at the age of 14 because her dad was a franchise partner. Her dad passed, so corporate bought the location back from the family and ran it. She still worked and stayed and worked there, so this month we gave that restaurant to her. And we're doing the same thing for another young lady that started at the age of 17. She was with us for almost 15 years, and we made her a franchise partner. So I say that is that the opportunity there is, I would say, for any fast food, any food franchise is that we always looking for young, innovative people, and we move them from, you start walking your door. If you don't have any experience, you start at the beginning, and you learn, you work your way up, and that's how you get promotions and bonuses, by showing that you do have the leadership skills that we're looking for, and you catch on to the business model and understand the business model. At the end of the day, like Daniel said, it's all about capital. If you can show me that you can make this location money, then your opportunities to move forward or to become the owner or the manager or the franchise partner location become better. One of the things that Mr. Williams done to me that I thought he was just crazy. Every year at the end of the year, I'll get my yearly review. I had to bring my tax return and my credit report. And his saying was to me, said, Tim, if you can't run your own, you can't take care of your own money, how can I trust you to take care of my money? So it goes back to that saying, take care of your business, and totally agree with Daniel. Stay off social media, unless it's positive, because it makes a difference. So I hope I answered your question about the opportunity, but I would say also, if you have a skill set of operation, there's probably more people around you that's looking for you than we are, because they have the money, they want to get into it, so they look for someone that have the skill set that they can invest in or they can do partnerships with. And that's what we're looking for. And I have a couple high school kids that are working for us 20 hours a week, most of us on the weekend. I try to give them every other Friday off because I still know they're in high school, they do games and all that kind of stuff. And I try to tell my manager, when you have your younger crew, give them some freedom if you want to keep them. You can't take the weekends from them. But they understand you do work weekends, but you don't take all the weekends from them. And then that helps them build, and they'll stay with you longer. And for those who do it right, tend to have a good, stable staff.
Kristin,
I would say that, I think we have different programs throughout the organization, but I also would say that, if there's something you want to do, you're your own best advocate as any person in any role at any level. So if you want to come work for Papa John's, and as you're going to school and you want to work as a driver, I spent a couple hours a few weeks ago in a store with a great young lady who's in her early 20s. She's a driver, going to school, making some part-time money, delivering pizzas and helping in the store in the mornings. And she and I had a great conversation about what does she want to do next, right? Like, what do you want to do after school? Do you want to work for Papa John's? What's that path look like? And as a leader in the organization, you want to help people that are hardworking and have good attitudes. And if it's that they want to own a location or they want to, grow in the ops support world, because don't forget, like, there are franchise business partners and ops vice presidents that they're not managing a store, they're not an owner, but they're supporting groups of 10, 20, 50 stores across the country. So there's tremendous opportunity to grow, not just as a franchisee, but as on the franchisor supporting a franchisee group. And if the opportunity is that, hey, I'm going to school because I want to be a speech pathologist, then it's like, how do we help you do that and reach those goals? Because I think ultimately you want to work for leaders and work with leaders, and that grows your skill as you grow and develop yourself. And that's what makes a true leader and a true strong organization that you want to be part of.
Great. Any other questions? Because I've got questions. Yes.
Oh, we got someone.
Brandon's got a question. Hold on.
You're getting your steps in.
There we go.
Okay, so hello. So this question kind of goes into like development and issues with like the supply chain, post-COVID and pre-COVID. So like my big question is, since there are such issues with pipeline development, how long would it take from like conception of a franchise thoughts, like I want to own a Papa John's, I want to own a TGI Fridays or a Williams Fried Chicken, to like the actual grand opening day? Like how many months would it take now after COVID?
For Papa John's, it varies. So let's say we go through the process and you say, I'm going to sign a development agreement. It could take you 6 weeks. It could take you 12 weeks. It could take you 20 weeks to find, a real estate site. We have support in the way to help you do that. And then, from a you got to get design and permitting and construction. But I think it's taking, we have a lease executed, our site's approved by corporate, we're ready to go. I think it's taking 26 to 40 weeks. We're doing a lot of work to partner with the franchisees, though, to order equipment early and to try and get ahead of things to avoid delays. But we recognize that they're there, and so we're really trying to build the support system to pass on our learnings to a franchisee. So if it was you, like, hey, we need to order this now so that you can open by the end of the year and things like that. But we still believe that anything that a franchisee would bring to us today would open before the end of this fiscal year.
Just opened a restaurant a few weeks ago. It takes a while now. Just to break it down into big components, assuming you have a site that's been signed off on by the franchisor, you got 60 days, 90 days for architectural drawings, 120, 150 days for building permits, 120 days to build. This full service restaurant is a little different than inline Papa John's, and that's assuming you don't have any equipment delays. And we are finding you can have very small issues that stop the whole project. Our restaurant was stopped because they don't have whatever the chemical is to make the foam that goes into walk-in coolers, the foam that's in walk-in coolers. So we had about a 6-week delay because we can get walk-in cooler walls. So it's difficult now. And then once you open, your suppliers are changing your product on a regular basis. So what you get in today, you don't get in tomorrow. So it's very challenging right now. The whole supply chain is. It's a disaster, but once again, operators figure it out and keep moving, and it's kind of the new norm.
I think we're all trying to find creative solutions across the board.
Same thing. We're in the process of building 3 stores in Chicago. I never been involved building a restaurant in a union state. I learned real fast. Life is different when you're building it in a union because no one's in here to give you permits, and it's all political or union connected. So you have to get through those things. Then once you get your permits, we signed the contract in Chicago, June of 22. Last week, they got the permits, and they already had locations picked out. They already have leases in place. And probably one thing that I recommend to them that the lease doesn't start until you get your building permits. That's my background in real estate that helps my franchise partner. If not, they've been paying rent while they're trying to get permits. So it's those things that being part of a franchise and being part of the system, it helps our franchise partners with some of the issues they might have. And that's why, real estate and finance is very important in all our systems, because we have to have those people that do this every day. And that's probably one of the reasons, that is probably one of the major reasons that you pay a franchise fee. It's for the information, the history, and things that a franchisor have for you that you might never have thought about you need to deal with. But right now, I agree with Daniel. It's 6 months to a year if you're doing something from the ground up or doing a remodel, and depending on where you're building at, and depending on what happens. I tell everybody, I'm in Texas. We avoid Austin because the permit in Austin, I'm quite sure you did deal with your Papa John's. I know a couple of guys that have Papa John's in Austin, because they protect every little bug, every little flower, every bat, What that got to do with me? But it's all about permits. So you do your homework. If you're talking about going into building something or trying to start something from the ground, make sure you not only understand the business environment, but you better understand the social and political environment also, because it will become a nightmare if you don't understand it.
Does everybody have to take business law?
Business law, I think they do, right?
I didn't pay attention. Pay attention. By the time you start dealing with franchise agreements and to what Tim just said, you don't want to get into labor peace agreements and collective bargaining agreements, all this wonderful stuff I've been lucky enough to get involved in. It matters. You got to know how to read local documents. So if you're an entrepreneur in the franchising space, I don't care whether it's food or non-food, you got to know law, you got to know finance, you got to know operations, and it really is. It's the truth, and it's getting more and more complex. Eric and I were just chatting about regulatory issues. Everything's getting very regulated, and you can be in one city and things are completely wide open, and you can be in the city right next to it, and you can't get a building permit. So welcome to the show.
You hear, students, franchising is multidisciplinary, right? So we have a lot of second-generation franchisees who will go back to law school. Because the franchise agreement is a legal document, and understanding law and finances also, right? Excel is really important to understand. Those are finances and legal issues are one that you guys should focus on. So we have a couple of student questions.
Hi. So this question could go for all of you, but if you all had to narrow it down to one piece of advice or a lesson that you've learned, what would you all say is probably the most important thing that you guys have learned that has either helped you or that you've overcome that challenge?
For me, I paid attention to franchise law and business management. Law because it keeps me out of jail. And management because in the position, I never saw myself had to manage people because I was more interested in the real estate side of the piece. But if I found the management part of it more interesting than accounting and finance. But that's have helped me through my journey as moving through corporate world and become where I am and dealing with my franchise partner. You have to be able to manage people, time, and money.
I would say be inquisitive. Ask questions. If you're running a business, if you're trying to understand drivers of performance for something else, you can't be afraid. You have to do it. in a humble and a place from a good place, but asking questions and seeking to understand is really, really important. It could be reviewing documents. Hey, can you help me understand this? It could be, hey, you know, I own a Papa John's and I'm trying to understand where my sales are coming from. Can somebody help me? It's always asking and seeking to know that next level. Don't just take that surface level answer as being, oh, okay, and walking on with your day. It's how do you really get that knowledge that you can action from.
And I think that's a great point, to be inquisitive. The other thing I would say is to be open. I think everything we've shared about franchise is so much opportunity. Just be open to what's there. The other thing that I would share is to protect and strengthen your own personal brand. That's a lesson, I think, strengthen it always by working in franchise operations. We've shared some things, strengthen it by protecting your credit score. All of those things, you are your own personal brand. So always look to strengthen and protect it.
Great points. Daniel, you have some words of wisdom?
I mean, it's a journey. What I know now versus what I knew when I was in your position, it's different. So just, the whole notion of networking, working with different people, young lady with a couple of restaurants in your family, make sure you have a good banking relationship. Know your banker. I don't know, give a plug to another association. Join the Georgia Restaurant Association. Go to the member meetings. Meet more restaurateurs. Get in your ecosystem and really learn who's out there. What are they doing? Where are things headed? But I think it's just the best thing about being an entrepreneur is you learn every day. You learn something new every day, which means you make like a lot of mistakes every day. And you just keep going. So tenacity, perseverance, you hear those stories about folks that started businesses and they maxed out their credit cards and somehow they made it, right? Well, they persevered every day. And I think ultimately that's what you have to do if you really want to be in business for yourself. And then you're learning. You're constantly learning.
Great point. Yeah, social networks are really, really important. And it's a small world, right? I mean, Daniel came to Cornell and spoke at Cornell, and we hadn't seen each other for a while, and we saw each other at the IFA. And so it's a small world, and you never know who's around. And social networks really have an impact. And your efforts, so today, being here has a big impact, right? We always want to be in the virtual world, but it makes a big impact on making those connections, because that's what kind of makes business. We have a student question here.
Alumni question. I don't know if there's any other alumni, but this is a great conversation, but for the individuals who have kind of, basically my spiel is, me and my friends, we did a small business thing. I kind of, got a lot of lessons learned there, a lot of lessons learned. So I was thinking about the next opportunity, the next thing I want to do. That was a brick and mortar business, and I was actually really turned off by brick and mortar. But hearing this, I was like, well, I like money too. So with the franchising opportunity, if I didn't want to be as involved on the day-to-day, what's my time frame of, okay, going through the process, the franchising, real estate, all that, how long I'm looking at being involved before, or as an operator, am I just going to be involved perpetually? Can I operate my way out of a location? Is that realistic? Does that question make sense? For example, it's stabilized. Like the location is good. There's good management. The team is self-sustaining.
Okay. For me, that's always the $1 million question. Just opened a new restaurant, hired a guy back that worked for me for like 20 years. He was an accounting student at Georgia State and joined my accounting department in the late 90s, and I kicked him out of the office and put him in operations. Did a great job, and then brought him back and said, hey, we can go build 12, 15 of these restaurants. You can run it, obviously be a partner, equity partner in the deal. You got to go run it, right? So I think I got this perfect blueprint, right? Well, he stumbles. Now we're going to try and get him back on the right track. So I thought I was going to get him out of there pretty quickly and then start scaling. It didn't work. So I guess to answer your question, there really is no correct answer, right? You can think you have the perfect team, and as soon as you pull yourself out of the restaurant, it falls apart. Because at the end of the day, somebody's got to step up and be the leader. If they don't do it, then you're right back in there. So there is no right answer. That's the $1 million question for all of us in business, right? Do you think you got the best person and they fail miserably? You think you got somebody who's maybe going to be borderline and they end up being a superstar? That's the paradox, man. That's the $1 million question and $2 answer.
I mean, there's certainly franchise businesses that are more intensive in terms of management, and there's some that lead themselves to larger multi-unit operations. And so I tell all my students in class that if they, you do not have to be an operator. You have to understand the business, and you have to hire good people, which is not easy. But if you're looking in your future in franchising, it should be a multi-unit operation viewpoint, right? Because, I mean, you don't want to run a one subway because that's not going to generate enough revenue for you. So, there are opportunities, but I think understanding the business, you got to understand the business. And we got to comment over here.
Not really. I would add too, just from sort of like the IFA side of things. Obviously, our panelists are food service focused, right? But food service makes up less than half of the franchise business model. So, not everything actually is brick and mortar. Not every franchise has.
About that, because I'm ready right now.
There you go.
So that's where
every franchise, and I'm sure Jennifer could speak to this as well, right? Like, tax preparation and home health care, and Jennifer, if you want to take it.
Home health care, marketing services, vending, those are business opportunities. So when I say be open, there's a lot there that's not your traditional brick and mortar. The other thing that I was going to share was that when you talk about options for you, when you stand up one location and you make that successful, there's also the notion of an area operator, where you can buy out a territory and work with that brand on expanding that territory with the rights being totally yours. So that's another option as well. But to Daniel's point, the scenario and the people who step into those heightened roles, you have to make sure that you know who those folks are, that they can come out of the business at a molecular level and have this higher focus on building out territories.
What's your passion? What do you like doing?
I like doing a lot of things. So,
Give me two.
that said, what I don't like doing is dealing with nonsense. So I'm kind of like, on one hand, I would prefer to do something I could start as a sole proprietor, but on the other hand, obviously scale you need people.
No, I'm asking, what's your passion? What you like to, are you in the tech guy, or are you in?
So technology, I love comedy, I love media.
So then you would talk with Jennifer and find some type of brand that's in the tech field, or if you're in the comedy, I'm quite sure. I don't know any comedy houses that are franchised. It's in a franchise system.
Technology.
But technology, it's a lot of things. I tell a lot of people, invest in something that you're passionate in, so it won't become a job. And one of the deals before I accept a royalty, a franchise fee, if someone tell me they won't be in the chicken business, I said, come spend a weekend with me in the store. Let me put you in that cooler, let you pan a little chicken, let you get, or that you work the fryer, get a little hot grease on your hand. Really make sure that's what your lady.
Go home with that good odor.
Yeah. Your young ladies come in with these nice, pretty $100 fingernails and everything. I get to cut those off. You just had your hair done, so I'm gonna give you this nice little hair net, and then you go home and you can smell like chicken all day. You go home to your kids. Oh, Mom, you smell like chicken. Ooh. And then see if if that's something that you really want to do, because it's important. It's important to invest in something that you are passionate about.
It goes back to what I said earlier about Barbara Elliott, who we met on Monday, and was a CPA, and she had a passion for interior design, and so she just, she took a leap of faith, right? And she left a very stable corporate job as a CPA and went and became a decorating franchisee, and has been in business with her sister for 25 years here in Atlanta now.
So we have a couple of minutes left. So I'd like the panel to leave us with one thought each about franchising, or about your journey, or something you can leave with the students from this experience that they can take away. So maybe just a short little something.
I'll start it. Have a plan. Have a plan and work your plan. You know, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there.
Invest your time and energy into something that you're passionate about.
I would say, as far as entitlement, just know that, you know, nothing's you're not entitled to anything. Please navigate, take advantage of the space that you're in. If you're going to fast food, take advantage of the surroundings. Take advantage of understanding how did they get chicken here? How did they get fries here? What did it take for that truck to back up and unload the fries? So make sure you're taking advantage of those opportunities. And I'll go back to what I shared before. Lack of exposure doesn't mean inability. That does not mean you're not able to thrive and flourish in this industry. So expose yourself to it.
I think it goes back to believing in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you can accomplish anything that you set your own mind to, and you'll bring other people along with you. So it kind of wraps all of it together.
That's great. And my piece of advice is, if you haven't taken franchising entrepreneurship, sign up for next semester. I'd like to thank our panel. It's been great. The IFA has been very supportive. The Open Opportunity campaign is something I think really resonates with Georgia State. We're looking forward to partnership in the future. And if students have any questions, please reach out to our panelists. You can talk obviously after the session. But thanks a lot for joining in, and appreciate the panel. Thank you so much.
Good job. Inbox me.